Hello Internet, welcome back to Asteroids VR. We're going to be picking back up our grapple gun. I said it was going to be cancelled, or not cancelled, but delayed, and kind of changed my mind. So I really want this to become a thing because I think it's going to be awesome. There's no other real reason. It's not really a core feature. It doesn't need to happen. I just think it's going to be cool. So we're going to make it because that's what we do. It's a game. Games are supposed to be fun, right? So that's what we're going to do. So what we have right now, going back to way before, we have this. You'll notice there's a line renderer thing here. It's actually using like a dirt texture, I think, which is kind of gross. But what it does is it draws a line from our origin point to our actual collision point, which is actually inside, which isn't right, I don't think. But so this is just drawing a rope, more or less. And we're eventually going to be animating that, and we can use all the fun new Unity line renderer changes they have in Unity 5.5, which should be fun, but we're not going to do any of that right now. What we're going to be doing is actually not using anything like that. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be focusing entirely on the physics of it. So I think we can use joints, but I don't know. I'm not super familiar with how all of those things work. And so what I want something that we can fix to our point, our anchor point, and then kind of swing from. So we're going to have two spheres, I think. And the first one, I'm going to actually probably keep these relatively large. So we'll have the rope origin, and then the rope player connection. I'm just using these for purely testing purposes. And so both of these are going to be rigid bodies. And this player connection, we're just going to hang that down and a little bit over this way. So what should happen is we want to connect these two. And if we do that right, they should stay at about the same distance. But this one should swing underneath it. And so eventually what's going to happen is this is going to be attached to the player's controller. And this other one is going to attach to whatever we impact with our grapple hook. And that's sort of just kind of what I want to get figured out, just the physics of it. I don't have any other plans, just figure out physics because I don't really know what's going on. So we have two rigid bodies here. So if I start this, they're both going to just fall off. Yeah. So I think what we can do is if we make this kinematic, it shouldn't move. So it should be attached. Part of the thing with our actual bullet is it will actually attach to whatever it hits. So when we hit an asteroid, it will actually attach to that. And that's important because since it's attaching to it, as the asteroid rotates and stuff, it will still keep working. So if we make this kinematic, it'll be attached to it. We don't need to worry about physics keeping up or anything. It will just stay there, but we'll still have the rigid body for our simulation. And then this one should still fall, so no changes there, I don't think. Then what we want is, I think we want a joint, but I don't know what kind of joint. A fixed joint? This is the part where I should probably be looking things up or something, but I'm not. Let's find out what happens if I do this. So fixed joint, not the solution we were looking for. I imagine what's going to happen is, yeah, they're attached to one another. So it connects them, and so I assume rotations and stuff will connect the two. But that's not particularly helpful. We want something a little bit more hingy. But I believe a hinge has an axis, which I don't think we want. One way to find out just play around with this. So don't really know where this video is going to end up. Don't really know if I care that much. I'm just figure we can explore Unity's physics together. That didn't work either. That's kind of weird. I expected that one to actually do something. That actually is a little bit odd. Oh. Okay, so it does work a little bit. The issue I'm seeing, it only seems to work on one axis. Like you'll notice it's not swinging parallel to the ground, and it kind of is locked in that orientation. We don't want that. We want it to attach, but we want full movement. And if we don't get that, then bad stuff. So that doesn't look like it's going to work either. We're going to need something else. That was our hinge. There's a configurable joint and a character joint. I believe those are more complicated. There's a spring, which we could use. But the issue with the spring is it's quite stretchy. And I don't know if we want, well, actually, I kind of want this. I want it to be kind of springy. The issue is it isn't bounded in any way. So if this happens, then we get that. And I'm pretty sure that would make me nauseous if I was attached to that. So I don't really want to deal with that. Like, what do you do if that becomes you? So I think we want a combination of a spring and some other joint, so that the spring will try to clamp it a little bit below like the maximum distance you can be from something, but the joint gets in there to kind of assist things. So that's going to be you eventually. That's the idea. So hopefully it works. Let's see. Rope origin. I think we're going to need some sort of configurable joint. Nope. I don't want to deal with that. So that may come back. Yeah, let's do it. Screw it. Configurable joint. So we need to figure out what all of this means. And I have no idea. Secondary axis is going to be the Z plane, I believe. So I believe this will make it so it can rotate in all directions. No, it's just going to drop into infinity. That's cool. That's what I wanted. Okay, so we need to set those to limited, it looks like. And then I should be able to drag this and it will do... Okay, so that's sort of rope-ish. So now we have to redo that a little bit by just limiting these. And I believe that'll prevent it from doing anything ridiculous. Now, spring stuff. I don't really know anything about spring stuff. I'm actually just going to drag that up there so we can see if this is still working. It seems to be. It does the thing, so that's always good. I'm actually going to disable gravity on this. And it should just go in a full circle around it, which is what we want, actually. We want it to go full circle. So if you attach to something, it will just swing you around in a circle, which is cool. At least I think it's cool. One thing you'll note, can't go out there. Oh. What have we done now? Unity, are you all right? So I guess the lesson there is don't do whatever that was. That's good news, I guess. Don't do whatever that was. Oh, geez. Let's see. We've got this. Now we want some spring stuff so it'll actually kind of bounce around. And so this way, if you latch onto something with a lot of force behind you, it will also stretch out a little bit, so you'll get a little bit of extra give in the rope or whatever you're using to connect. It'll probably be like a steel cable or some sort of magical future tech stuff. Magnets. It'll be magnets. It won't. I don't think we'll do magnets, but let's see. Linear limit spring. 10, and that should be good. It should bounce a bit now. Actually, yeah, it will. So if we do that, now I should be able to grab this a little bit and it's not really doing what I expected, because I think the issue is so we have this limited. I'm kind of curious what happens if we make it just drops into infinity. Huh. How do we... What is this? The linear limit. Oh, you can't see that, can you? So the linear limit is something. We'll make it 10. No idea what it means, but we'll make it 10. What else? Other things we can play around with. Something. So what I'm trying to get to is I'm trying to get to a point where we don't need to limit this. So it's a bit bouncier or something. So can I eventually latch on to things? That's just still falling. That isn't good. Target rotation, the X drive, whatever the heck that means. Huh. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing. This would be a good time to go look at a manual. Not going to do that yet. We haven't broken it sufficiently yet. Still falling. Okay then. We may need to bring out we may need to grab that manual soon, because there's a lot of options, and usually Unity has at least a tooltip or something. Not getting those here. Oh, there's one. So you can limit the angle that it rotates it to, and then comes back. I believe these are actually what I used when you make a rigid body, or not when you make a rigid body, when you make a ragdoll. I believe it uses a bunch of these configurable joints, and as well as some of the character joints. Pretty sure these are useful features. Pretty sure. I have no idea what they mean. Oh. This sounds useful. You can use a spring to reach your location. So we've got a pivot thing, and we can give it a spring value to attach to it. So now that it is doing that, it actually is yeah, we've got that spring issue again. I've put it into orbit. Whoops. Okay, so don't do that. So I think that is what we want. We do want these positional springs with maximum force equal to something. And I think we can probably make our rope or whatever break, so it'll automatically just retract if you exceed some sort of distance from the point that you stuck into something. And so by doing that, we can actually, if we limit the force, that should fix that. I want to think that'll fix that. These will probably be things that I'll tweak later. This is mostly just to kind of get a general idea of how this is going to work. So what I'm thinking, just so we can run through this idea, is I am thinking I'm going to delete that actually, and drop that there, and that there, and another one there. And now this is going to attach to that one. And then they're just going to go right down the chain. So the only one that doesn't connect to anything is the final one. And then, just so we can kind of wiggle it, I'm going to pull that one out a little bit. Wasn't exactly what I was expecting. Oh, I know what's going on. They're kinematic. So if we do that, it'll do its spring thing a bit. So they are connected with springs, so there will be some physics. And since they have mass, this one is getting 3 times the mass as the bottom one because it's connected to the other ones. So it's stretching more. But the idea here is this way we get sort of a rope effect. And so this final one will be connected to the controller and will actually be fixed as well. So that'll be fixed to the controller and we'll apply it. It won't be what I'm thinking is it won't actually be fixed, but the rendering will be, and then the force that's applied to it will actually be applied to our rope or whatever it is, or to our player actually. So what this gets us is, I'm actually gonna disable gravity on these, and that should even it out because now there's no actual mass between them. But now you can see we get kind of well, that's not really a rope effect, but it's kind of got that idea. So the advantage here is now we have sort of a rope thing. And what we can do then is add as many nodes, which would be these, as we want. And that'll be sort of our rope. And theoretically, we can also do some colliders between them. So it'll even like wrap around like an asteroid or something if we need it to. I'm thinking the default implementation, it'll just break, but we may want to explore that as well. But for now, we've got sort of a ropey thing. I may want to tense up those springs a bit. But other than that, we can actually do that now. So if I do, ooh, that's a little bit much. Okay, so we've got 100 now, so it'll be quite So you can see now that there's more force being exerted, they will snap a little bit quicker, which kind of helps them keep their position a little bit more. The issue is the results are a lot more violent the further away they get, which could lead to a few problems. I think that's what that maximum force is there to tweak. We'll have to play around with it and see what happens. But for now, this is kind of getting us, I guess, balls that are connected in sort of a rope. And we should be able to actually use this grapple rope controller to actually render this. So I'm going to actually bring that in. Why not? So these both are kinematic, or not kinematic, and neither is that one. And that'll just let them dangle, I guess. And then what we want is we want a rope, grapple rope controller with a line renderer attached. And so we can attach the line renderer there to itself and that. And we'll eventually have to drag all of these down, but this will show the sort of the general idea. We don't need to do it all. And then I'll just slap some really simple material on there. Do blue. So I don't think it's showing up, but let's see what happens. Probably nothing good. So if I start this, what we should see is we should see a 1. Yeah, there we go. So we're kind of getting the rope going. And I can actually tweak this using the new rope thing. Oh, that didn't work. I see how it works. So Unity's new rope thing gives you a width that you can kind of calculate on a graph. It doesn't add additional vertices in between here. What it seems to do is it seems to look up where the vertices is in the list. It seems to look up its distance somewhere along there. And then based on that, it will render it or render the width. So you can apply a curve and it will kind of figure out what the point should be. It won't add any additional points for you. We can reduce this width to like 0.1. So it's a little bit more rope-like, and it will just kind of hang there. So there's a rope. It kind of works. We'll have to actually implement it and see how this works, but I think it's good enough to start, and hopefully it doesn't result in too many casualties. I'm guessing this is going to need tweaks. This is probably going to need a lot of tweaks. But what we can do here is, now that we have sort of this concept down, we can figure out how many of these nodes we want, build something that can construct this, and then we just attach it to this projectile. Not that. Actually, is it? No. There is a sphere. This thing. Not that thing. Sorry, getting lost. Help. Oh, I know what happened. I had started the project and it deletes itself and attaches itself. So there's a projectile here. If we can get this projectile to simulate this, and I want this to actually be simulated as it's going out, because I kind of want so like if you shoot a rope off of a spool, it unwinds as it comes off, which kind of gives it a sort of a circular motion going out, sort of a corkscrew. I want to simulate that coming out of the thruster. And I think we can do that using some simple trig. But to do that, we're going to need these simulated here. We can actually probably have the springs do the actual animation for us and just slightly tweak where they're spawning at. So we'll have to play with that. I think that's our next step. But for now, that's it. I think we're at a good spot. So if you liked it, let me know what you liked in the comments. This one didn't have any code in it, and if you want code, check out my other videos. There is code all over the place there, and hopefully some of it's interesting. So if you found this video interesting, let me know what you liked and what you didn't like and all that other fun stuff. If you've got a favorite pet and you know his name, share that too. I don't really care. Let's see. What else? Yeah, I think that's it. Pretty sure that's it. I'm forgetting my outro. I don't really have an outro. So I'll end it here. So I guess that's it. See you in the next video, Internet.